Beloved, we gather today not only to worship our Creator, but also to reflect on the times we live in. Times when the foundations of our society are shaken by the love of money, the pursuit of power, and the erosion of justice. The scriptures guide us in understanding these challenges, revealing the dangers of greed and the moral decay that follows when we stray from God's path. Let us begin by considering the role of wealth in our society. Proverbs 22:7 teaches us, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender." What a powerful warning this is. In today's world, we see how the wealthy, corporations and individuals, seek to influence the course of politics, initially believing that their wealth can shape outcomes in their favor. Yet, as they pour more and more resources into political campaigns, they find themselves ensnared by the very system they sought to control. What was once a strategic choice becomes a forced participation, driven not by desire, but by fear. Fear of losing influence, fear of political retribution. This endless cycle of giving, where donations become a necessity to maintain standing, reflects the spiritual truth that when we place our trust in wealth rather than in God, we become slaves to that wealth. Next, we turn our gaze to those in positions of power, our politicians. Micah 3:11 speaks directly to the heart of the issue. Her leaders judge for a bribe, her priests teach for a price, and her prophets tell fortunes for money. How chilling these words are. In their pursuit of political office, our leaders may begin with noble intentions, but the overwhelming influence of money leads them astray. They become dependent on the donations of the wealthy, and soon their decisions are no longer guided by the needs of their constituents, but by the demands of their financial backers. This cronyism, a system where loyalty is bought and sold, distorts the very essence of governance. The leaders who should be protectors of justice become instruments of corruption, rewarding those who contribute and punishing those who do not. This is not the leadership God calls us to. This is a betrayal of the trust placed in them by the people. But what of the people? The voters, the heart of any democracy. Jeremiah 17:5 warns us, "Cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart turns away from the Lord." In the face of overwhelming financial influence, many voters lose faith in their ability to effect change. The grassroots movements that once brought hope to communities are overshadowed by the vast sums of money poured into campaigns by the wealthy. As voters see their voices drowned out by the influence of money, they begin to disengage, feeling that their efforts are in vain. This leads to a dangerous cycle of disillusionment, where the very act of voting, of participating in democracy, seems futile. The sense of agency, the belief that every vote matters, is eroded, and with it the strength of our civic life. We are called by God to be stewards of justice and to uphold the rights of the oppressed, but when we turn away from our civic duties, we allow injustice to flourish. Isaiah 5:20 issues a dire warning. "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness." This verse captures the essence of the systemic corruption we face today. As money becomes the driving force behind political decisions, the lines between right and wrong blur. What was once considered corrupt becomes normalized, and what was once evil is now seen as a necessary part of the political process. The entire system, donors, politicians, and voters, becomes trapped in a feedback loop of corruption and distrust. Each group, often unintentionally, contributes to the degradation of our democracy. The more money that flows into politics, the more corrupt the system becomes, and the less faith people have in the integrity of their government. This is a vicious cycle that can only be broken by a return to the principles of justice, righteousness, and faith in God. Beloved, the scriptures remind us that we are not powerless in the face of corruption. We are called to be salt and light in the world, to stand for justice and to resist the pull of greed and power. Let us remember the words of Proverbs 29:2. "When the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan." Our task is clear. We must seek to increase righteousness in our society. Let us, as a community of faith, commit to praying for our leaders, that they may resist the temptation of corruption and serve with integrity, engaging in civic life not as a duty, but as a calling, a way to reflect God's justice and mercy in our world. Challenging the systems of power that perpetuate inequality and corruption, advocating for policies that promote fairness and the common good. May we turn our hearts back to God, trusting not in wealth, but in His righteousness. Let us break the chains of corruption that bind us and work together to build a society that honors God, serves the people, and upholds justice for all. Amen.